You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you...
Bullshit. Bullshit. The domestic abuse is bidirectional. It's not equal. And again, men have not been socialized for decades to report it. So if it's bidirectional and men haven't been socialized, and what I mean by socialized is I remember the era of these films coming on in the 1970s and onward that highlighted and defined for the public what a woman being abused looked like. You know, the first film I saw where a man was abused? Antwone Fisher. And he wasn't a man at that point. He was a boy. The only conversation around male abuse of adult males was in prison. And that's not technically what we would call abuse. That was the closest thing to it. There is no, public image of men being abused in any significant way that we've learned to take seriously. Johnny Depp might have been one of the first men we encountered that was justifiably abused in a way that could not be laughed off or dismissed because he recorded it. He had conversations illustrating how much she was willing to lie because it was so much of a thing that nobody believed could happen to grown men. He wouldn't have had a case if he didn't have her lying about it and laughing in his face. That might have been one of the first public settings where male abuse of an adult male had to be addressed and taken somewhat seriously. Because at the very least, it highlighted women's willingness to abuse the public social expectation of how abuse works to her benefit. And this is what we saw with Jonathan Majors as well, right? Undeniable proof that she was willing on one level or another to fabricate a lie simply because most people would believe her. How many people actually believe Jonathan Majors was innocent? Right? Most people took it as at face value that he must be guilty. Because the abuse of men is not realistic in the imagination of most people. Unlike the way the abuse of women has been framed. Again, I watched for decades as media played a role in showing us what that abuse looks like. So in terms of what Umar's talking here, that's not true. The abuse is bidirectional. When it comes to intimate partner violation or grape, I've said this for years. Statistically, it is far more likely that black men are the demographic that suffer from it most. Because America imprisons more of its population than any other group and statistically incarcerates black males more than any other group. And even when you talk about juvenile black males, the reports on juvenile black males and sexual harassment, sexual assault from guards and even administrators will blow your mind. But see, he's not bringing those things up because they're not convenient to the narrative. He's going with the narrative that people readily accept. That women stood there as innocent snowflakes. They got abused, and men were monsters and had to be held back. And this is why she had to be masculine. Even though Green Gorilla did it on his show the other day. He showed you directly from Tommy Curry the data where there were whole periods of time from the 70s through the 90s where black men were the most abused demographic. There are reports matter of fact, meta reports that have shown the same data. I've shown them on my channel as well. But they're not part of the public narrative. So when Umar is making these statements, he's not catering to what's actually being produced in the data. He's catering to what people want to hear because it pays.